Huge new leaks have just dropped regarding the target specs for Sony's next generation handheld, and if these numbers are accurate, this thing is going to be an absolute beast. We are talking about a dedicated portable with enough raw power to actually outperform a major current gen home console and leave the Steam Deck 2 in the dust. But that isn't even the craziest part. These same leaks have uncovered a massive controversial change Sony is making to the PS6 home console to cut costs, and it's a move that's going to make some PlayStation fans very, very nervous. Today we are breaking down how Sony is planning to leave the handheld competition in the dust, the secret AI tech they're using to shrink next-gen game sizes, and whether we are even ready for a PS6 as early as 2027. Let's get straight into the details. First things first, this is not a streaming device like the Portal, which completely relies on your internet connection and does absolutely nothing without a solid internet connection. These new comments come from KeplerL2, a leaker known for accurately revealing many Sony secrets, and they suggest this is a native return to the handheld market. Kepler claims the device's GPU is slightly ahead of the Xbox Series S console in raster performance and much further ahead in ray tracing and even path tracing performance. Now, just think about how wild that is for a second. I've got a Series S, I've had one since launch, and it's a great little device. The visuals are actually really impressive for such a small console. Now imagine getting visuals that are even better than that, but on a dedicated handheld with a small screen. Because the screen is smaller, the pixel density is going to make these games look incredible. According to earlier leaks, this rumoured handheld is powered by an AMD chip with 4 Zen 6C cores, 2 Zen 6 low power cores, 16 RDNA 5 compute units, and a staggering 24GB of LPDDR5X memory on a 92-bit bus. While KeplerL2 didn't comment on those specific specs, he did comment on the performance target. For context, the Series S uses 20 RDNA 2 compute units for 4 teraflops of performance. This suggests Sony's handheld would rely on newer GPU architecture, stronger ray tracing hardware, and AI upscaling tech like PSSR. When you see how much PSSR2 has already improved over the original version in games like Resident Evil Requiem, it makes total sense for a handheld to lean into this tech. In fact, Kepler mentioned that while the Switch 2 uses DLSS2, which is Nvidia's AI upscaling tech, a future PSSR 3 solution could deliver better image quality than even current gen DLSS 4.5. It allows Sony to maximize the visuals and punch way above its weight class without having to rely on just stuffing more power-hungry hardware inside the device. There have even been recent rumours that you might be able to dock the device similar to the Switch 2, but that brings me to a massive question I want answered. What about physical media? Is this handheld device going to support it somehow? I really hope so, but I'm worried it will be digital only. Could Sony use cartridges like they did on the Vita or like what we see with the Switch 2? I'd like to think so, but it feels highly unlikely. I don't see a world where the home console uses discs and the handheld uses cartridges. It just wouldn't make sense and would be way too messy. And we know a handheld is not going to use a disk drive. Sony needs to figure out a way here where we can buy a physical game to play on our home console and have that game work on our handheld. I don't mean just remote play by having the disc in your console, but something that grants you a license or something. No idea how they'd work that out without people abusing the system, but surely someone way smarter than me can figure it out. What do you think? Are physical games on the PlayStation handheld doomed? Or is there a place for them? Honestly, as much as I love the PlayStation Portal, I am actually way more excited for this dedicated handheld. And I'm even way more excited for this dedicated handheld than the PlayStation 6 home console right now. It is my most hyped device right now, but in this economy where money is tight for a lot of people, how on earth is Sony going to market an expensive, possibly dockable handheld alongside its next gen console? Isn't that going to be super expensive to buy both? Maybe they would offer a bundle, who knows? Either way, the competition should be seriously worried. When KeplerL2 was asked whether Valve's next handheld would be ready by the time Sony's device launches, the answer was a flat nope. The leaker added that while Valve had been targeting 2028 for the Steam Deck 2, current RAM and NAND prices could push that schedule back. That gives Sony a massive advantage here and a big window to dominate the handheld space before the competition shows up. Now, we see it in the comments all the time. A lot of people argue that the Steam Deck is the way to go over something like the PlayStation Portal. And honestly, that makes sense because the Steam Deck is a dedicated native handheld. It is a totally different device to the Portal that can do totally different things. So now, do we think that argument is going to shift with the new PS6 dedicated handheld? Could we potentially see some die-hard Steam Deck owners moving over to PlayStation hardware if it's more powerful than their current PC gaming handhelds? That would be a massive shift for the handheld market and a huge win for PlayStation if it could pull it off. But it also leads to the bigger question, are we actually ready for a PS6 in 2027? That feels really soon. Personally, I wouldn't mind seeing this handheld launch first to, bridge the gap, then the home console later. What do you think? Is 2027 too early for your wallet? Or are you saving up already? Now, speaking of getting new hardware in 2027, let's talk about the PS6 home console, because there is a bit of a catch. To make all this next-gen power more affordable to us, and to make us actually willing to pay for a new console, the PS5 is rumoured to ship with just 1 terabyte of storage. And here's the really bad bit, no disk drive in the box. I've been saying this would happen all along. By stripping the disk drive, Sony can announce a much lower starting at price point. But just like the PS5 Pro we have right now, if you actually want to use your discs, you're going to have to buy that drive separately. I think this approach Sony is taking going forward, being digital first with a physical drive add-on for their consoles, is honestly unfortunate. When the standard configuration is digital, it naturally pushes more people away from physical media. But I'm telling you right now, buy the disc drive. It will save you an absolute fortune on games in the long run. Physical games, especially brand new releases, are always cheaper than being locked into high fixed prices on the PlayStation Digital Store. I'm a physical game buyer. I think it's the only way to go. So it's incredibly annoying to see these console producers shifting so aggressively towards digital. You have to wonder if we weren't in this AI rampocalypse with component, prices going up through the roof and all the availability of components being hoovered up by these big AI companies and wild tariffs being, implemented all over the world, hitting the tech industry. Would Sony still be making this digital first move? I unfortunately think they would. That's why we need to fight back with our wallets and always buy physical games when we can, as having options to buy physical or digital is the best way for us customers. We don't want to be locked into one store. Trust me, it's not a fun future for our bank balances. Next up, a 1 terabyte drive seems a bit on the small side for the PS6, given how big modern game sizes are getting, and that the PS5 Pro shipped with a nice 2 terabyte storage drive. Sony has a secret weapon though to make that 1 terabyte drive work. It's part of a massive long-term engineering initiative between Sony and AMD called Project Amethyst. This partnership is focused on delivering next-generation graphics tech for PlayStation consoles, and one specific part of that is neural texture compression, an AI-driven tech designed to shrink those massive file sizes down. If Mark Cerny and the team can pull this off, we might actually see next-gen games with a smaller footprint than what we have on the PS5 today, which would be a nice upgrade so we do not need even more storage space. But all this chat about new hardware brings up a massive question for us all. What does this mean for the PlayStation Portal? Do we think the current Portal will even be compatible with the PS6? Or is this new dedicated handheld going to completely take its place? We know Sony is a hardware company and they make a massive amount of money selling us new devices. It wouldn't surprise me at all if the current Portal is left behind. We've seen this before. The Vita can stream from PS4 and not the PS5, but the Portal is locked to the PS5 and can't stream from the PS4. So could the rumoured PlayStation Portal OLED be the bridge to the new PS6? Or will Sony launch a brand new Portal 2 with Wi-Fi 7 to go alongside the new console? There are so many questions left to be answered here, and I want to know what you think. Is the Portal dead once the PS6 arrives? Let me know your theories in the comments. If you want to start saving some cash to help you afford this new PlayStation 6 hardware, you need to learn how to get your PlayStation Plus Premium way cheaper right now. I break it down step by step in the video on screen. Click it now, save your money, and I'll see you over there.